Us football fans are a fickle lot, and I'm just as guilty of it as you are and everybody else. If we went to Spurs and came from 1-0 down and took a draw there, and then came home on Wednesday and beat Wolves 2-0, we would be ecstatic. There'd be talk of Europe. It would be an Unai Emery masterclass. But switch the results, same amount of points, and all of a sudden it feels like points dropped at home because of a team that's in the relegation zone that seems to have our number at Villa Park and a team that is pushing for European football. Funny how that is, isn't it? Let's dissect it. Dive in. Villa 1, Wolves 1. Before we get into the meat and potatoes of the Wolves match, I want to send a birthday shout out to a viewer of this program, a religious one, Chris Goulbourne, who celebrated birthday number 53 or celebrates his 53rd birthday this week, pictured here with his lovely Mrs. Lynn. They're from Tamworth. Their son Benjamin lives not far from here in Vancouver. Let's put a Villa-themed birthday hat. And thank you for watching, Chris. Happy birthday. Although if I was Benjamin, you know what I'd do. I wouldn't reach out to me to do a birthday shout out. I'd go to the Villa shop where there's 50% off first team kit and some of the new training gear as well. Like, this isn't on sale, but how do you like this? I love this stuff, even though it is kind of almost Wolves-ish color. But the gear is great. And if you use the link in the description below, you'll be supporting the show. All right, let's get into it. Look at that scene with Unai Emery conducting the orchestra, the Holy Trinity Show. The three key issues or moments that defined Aston Villa 1, Wolves 1. We'll start with the key statistics. The first half hour was ghastly, quite frankly. It was all Wolves, and yet Villa managed to turn it around except for one stat. The ground duels won. They had a higher XG, more shots, including shots on target. Accurate passing was good in this game, and they created two big chances and had more possession, but they did not win the ground duels battle. And I can only imagine what would have happened if they had started at home like they did away at Spurs or like Wolves started in this game. Key issue for me, Daniel Podence is a Villa killer. I mean, last year in the horrendous 2-0 up 3-2 loss game against Wolves, he started on the bench. He only came on with 16 minutes to go and is the single biggest reason, in my opinion, why Wolves reversed that scoreline. Same issue here, and it's funny how some players against certain opponents and at select venues just seem to be 10 feet tall and feel like they can do no wrong. Players have said this before. For some reason, I just do really well at this venue, which makes me wonder, what would it be like if Daniel Podence was playing at Villa Park full time? Some of you asked the same question. One of you even saying, I would trade Podence for Emi Buendia right now in a heartbeat. Now, I don't watch Podence full time at Wolves enough to know what he's like the rest of the time, but at Villa Park, he is a game changer, and he changed the game here. He's the biggest reason for me why Wolves dominated us in that first half hour especially, and he's the exact kind of player that we all want Emi Buendia to be. Lively, a spark plug, a guy who combines with his teammates and then is skillful in the box to create chances and goals. And keeping in mind, he was a doubt for this game. But when he came off at halftime, he was noticeably absent and Wolves looked totally different. I don't want to take anything away from Daniel Podence because he was the most alive player in this phase of the game. He makes a great move in tight quarters on Luiz, who might have dove in, and then it's a fine finish. And you know what? Not all goals are the result of poor defending, but in this case, this goal comes from a set piece. It's the third phase of a set piece. So Villa failed to clear their lines on two occasions before we even got to this point. And the thing that concerns me, like the Liverpool 2-0 goal, look at how many claret and blue shirts end up in the penalty area, all of whom kind of do nothing. It's as if they're inviting teams to run at them. The problem starts with a 1-2, and frankly, Luka Dean kind of gives up on Podence at the top of your screen. There's the give and go, nice reverse pass, and Dean just sort of jogs. Yeah, Luiz dives in, Watkins stands off, Buendia is late, Cons is not there to block. And so these players are running at Villa's defenders all clumped up in the penalty area. Luca Dean, by the way, is an enigma for me. And maybe this is why we're hearing Alex Moreno rumors, because there are times when he shows flashes of brilliance, but here he shows indifference and a little bit of laziness. And you need competition in every position to avoid that from happening. Key moment for me, number 3, Kilman the keeper. If you had told me that Ludvig Augustinsson or Augustinsson, I'm not going to worry about it too much. I don't think he's here long term. But if he was the one who was going to provide the biggest goal scoring threat inside 75 minutes of this game, I would have laughed at you. But man, did he hit this clean. And he came on, and he did quite well. And what a brilliant piece of defending in an instant by Kilman. I mean, this is brilliant on both sides. Clean volley, great deflection away. Otherwise, this is labeled towards the back post. And this would have been a big goal, and it would have given Aston Villa an extra 3 minutes to try to go chase the winner. I'm not saying they would have gone on to win the game if he had buried this here, but this is a big moment that could have turned the tide a little sooner, and it would have been one of the most brilliant goals by an unlikely source. And in fact, I think if you ask the bookies, who's the most unlikely Aston Villa player to score in this game, somewhere behind Morgan Sanson and Robin Olsen, would have been Ludvig Augustinsson. Key issue number 2, laboring Leon. So never mind the chance, because that's a significant moment no matter how you spin it. But Leon Bailey had a very difficult night against Wolves statistically. He was only 3 of 8 on successful dribbles. He lost 11 out of 17 ground duels. He was dispossessed 6 times. He had a poor crossing accuracy, and all of those metrics are things that you'd expect a player with his profile to excel at. Not to mention, didn't have the strongest outing against Spurs, and I also brought up at the time that he whiffed on 2 very good positions against Liverpool, one of which was on his left foot. Now, in this game, he had a chance early. Douglas Luiz played him in beautifully onto his preferred left foot, and he absolutely dragged it. And that's not what you'd expect from his left foot. He just got there ahead of his defender. He had time. His job is to hit the target there. And that's why I'm concerned. This is not one game in isolation. It's been a couple of games now. As for the big chance at the end, one of the challenges, in my opinion, of playing players in inverted positions, i.e. not their natural side of the field, in order that they can cut in and shoot on their preferred or more natural foot, is this precise situation, even though you are expected in the Premier League to be proficient and able to score with both feet. But when this chance unfolded, I kind of wondered why he didn't just take it that one step further and then curl it in with his left foot, because you could see he just never got around the ball. And it's so easy for me and all the other armchair critics to comment on this moment. It wasn't as easy as it looked, especially from this angle. But I do have to wonder what is going through Leon Bailey's mind right now, because he was arguably our best player in preseason. I thought he was coming on after the Gerrard sacking, the games against Brentford and Man United, for example. But I think the World Cup break came at a really poor time. And with these rumors of Deulofeu and Sarr floating around, I wonder what Leon Bailey's mentality is and whether he can get back on track and be a consistently dangerous weapon for us. And the number 1 big issue or moment that defined Villa 1 Wolves 1, Ings and Mings things. I'm chucking Tyrone Mings in there because the two of them combined on the 1-1 goal, but Tyrone Mings statistically had another very good outing. In fact, on some of the sites, statistically, he was the man of the match. I also said the other day that Danny Ings is the right horse for certain courses, like, for example, at Brighton, where he seems to love playing. And on that day in mid-November, he had no Adam Webster to battle with. It was just Lewis Dunk and a youngster, and he took full advantage, and he was very alive. Well, he has Wolves' number as well, the same way Podence has ours at Villa Park. Danny Ings has scored 4 goals against Wolves in his last 4 appearances. That's such a strange anomaly, but that just happens sometimes, which means he was the perfect player to bring on in the situation we were in. Danny Ings' goal rate per minute is utterly staggering, quite frankly. It is right up there among the best in the Premier League. So everybody makes the immediate leap that if you just played him more, we would have more goals because that conversion rate in the time that he plays is so good. And it's not as simple as that. Wouldn't it be lovely if it was as simple as that? Because when he plays with or instead of Ollie Watkins, it's a totally different game, especially from the start when games are a little bit more tactical. And I think 3 totally different managers over the course of 2 seasons have all kind of come to the same conclusion. Maybe Unai Emery does try a system where Ollie Watkins is on the left, Ings is a number 9, and somebody else plays on the right. Who knows? But in this circumstance, at this point in the game where suddenly it opens up and becomes more direct and balls are being played over the top, it's chaotic and ragged. For me, that is the perfect time for Danny Ings because he knows when to make the run. And once he gets in behind and he's face to face with a goalkeeper, well, I already said he's one of the best. There is no disputing that. But I don't think had he started this game, it would have changed the outcome. Horses for courses. And in this particular case, he was the right horse. And isn't it strange? I mean, this went through my mind. Maybe it did yours as well. But for a team that's near the bottom and away from home and desperate for as many points as possible, wasn't it odd that Wolves kind of played a very high line and left a lot of space in behind? Because both of the big chances in the second half, both involving Danny Ings, came from those balls over the top. First, he was on the end of it, and then he played the second one for Leon Bailey. This ball by Mings is incredible because it comes on the run and he's allowed to carry forward. In fact, he had been carrying the ball for a few seconds prior to this. And I said the other day that, your formations, tactics, and strategies can all go completely out the window at times. The game becomes chaotic and you have to rely then on your players for creating a moment of magic based on the situation that is presented to them. And that's exactly what happens here. Tyrone Mings and Danny Ings make eye contact somewhere around here, and he just drops it over on a dime perfectly. Ings checked his run to make sure he was onside. His first touch is sublime, and significantly, the goalkeeper stumbling there made the difference because in that moment, Ings was able to just lift it over the goalkeeper. This was an incredible moment that just presented itself out of nothing, frankly. And when Danny Ings gets into these positions, he's money. The ball Danny Ings plays to create that final chance for Leon Bailey is utterly brilliant because before he even approaches the ball to smash it almost, 50, 60 yards, he had already clocked Leon Bailey's run and the distance it was going to take to beat the entire Wolves team with one pass, which again is very odd. Would Connor Cody have allowed this to have occurred at this stage of the game? I have no idea. I never understood that move and I don't follow Wolves closely for obvious reasons. But, he steps up and absolutely smashes this to the perfect location. This reminded me a lot of the ball he played for Bailey last year against Everton for Bailey's first goal. It was just on the other side of the field. He sees the run and he switches it to the space beautifully. And this is another one of the reasons why many Danny Ings fans say he's more than just a goal scorer and he should be playing full time. But again, you have to consider the context of what was happening in this game at the time. It was chaotic. It was ragged. It was back and forth. And I think that's when he plays his best. It has to be said that Little Phil was effective when he came on, and that's because he was trying urgently to connect with his teammates and move the opponent around and force them to chase, which was very encouraging. He wasn't just dallying on the ball looking to create that moment of magic. No, he was effective, and I still think a top manager like Emery could get the most out of Little Phil, and that could be very beneficial to us. The other guy we were missing in this game was Jacob Ramsey, because he could have really filled that role that Matt Cash was trying to play in the absence of John McGinn. Ramsey has been excellent at Villa Park, and because he's Villa through and through, he understands the implication of derbies like this one and the rivalry situation with Wolves, which, a lot of players who join the club from foreign leagues, you hear it's a derby, but you don't understand truly the implications behind it. And I think Ramsey would have made a difference here. Now, as for some of these recent and persistent transfer rumors that have been bubbling to the surface, like, for example, Ismail Assar of Watford, a player who apparently we had a deal with last year, and for some reason it fell through at the last, and we didn't end up getting him. But obviously, if we were that close, he is a Johan Lange target, you'd have to say. My question is, I have a couple. Do we want to dip back into the championship for a mid-20s player with potential because our two record signings are championship players of the year in Ollie Watkins and Emi Buendia? How's that worked out exactly? Have they been consistent Premier League contributors? Could we recoup those transfer fees that we paid if we were to sell one or both of them right now? And here's the other thing that's kind of weird for me. If Watford's trying to gain promotion back to the Premier League, why are they so hell-bent on selling Sarr right now? Because you'd think if he was that good a player, they'd want to hang on to him and get promoted first. That seems a little weird to me. Weston McKennie, I'm convinced that the American midfielder at Juventus has been linked with us for the better part of the last 3 or 4 transfer windows, which means that, again, it would seem that he is a Lange target. Does he step in and replace Boubacar Kamara? I don't think so. Does he offer more than Douglas Luiz? Maybe he's a different type of midfielder. I haven't watched him a whole lot except for with the USA, and they play very differently from us. Does he replace John McGinn? I don't know, but I want the players we're bringing in to be head and shoulders better than what we have now and step straight into the starting 11. Because if not, if we can't get those kind of players in this window for whatever reason, and we go in the summer after 2, maybe even 3 bumper transformational signings, then can we not at least let our new manager, the head chef of this project, Unai Emery, figure out the ingredients that he needs for this recipe? Because if he says that Deulofeu is a player that is the right ingredient for what we need right now, a player that is missing, a hybrid type player, a specialist, and I wish we could trust him in that because it's his project now. And frankly, I've been underwhelmed. Apart from Kamara and maybe even Diego Carlos, we haven't seen enough of him. I've been underwhelmed with our transfer business, frankly. Just reviewing some of the categories we've been following all season long. Obviously, the record at Villa Park now drops to 14 from a possible 24 points. Danny Ings' goal, his 6th, brings it to 9 combined with Watkins. That was a set-piece goal allowed. We're down to -8 now on the year, and Villa's record against bottom 6 sides, 5 of a possible 12 points. And now here we are in the not quite as magical as it used to be FA Cup time, and Aston Villa gets to host a League 2 opponent at Villa Park, which is both strangely exciting and somewhat terrifying because although we'd be expected to roll over a League 2 side, we're Aston Villa fans. We've experienced firsthand the horror of trying an experimental rotated side that then loses, even at home, to a lower-tiered opponent. And Stevenage, by the way, 2nd in League 2 behind Leyton Orient, pushing for a place in League 1 next year. But Unai Emery has a very good track record in cup competitions on his resume. He will want to set a very solid tone in Aston Villa's cup conquests. And although we've had 2 very taxing Premier League games already this week, I still think there's enough there to put out a strong side. Danny Ings, you'd think, would probably start based on how well he did at the back end of the Wednesday game. Cameron Archer, if rumors are true, is already on his way to Middlesbrough, which is a good move for him and that club because he has to play and help them get promoted. But after that, who knows? And that's part of the excitement of the competition. You know who Stevenage is putting out. They've got their 11 already inked in. Let's keep our fingers crossed that this is the start of a wonderful cup run because it's been way too long for us. Listen, once again, I want to offer my most sincere thank you and deep appreciation to you for supporting this show and helping Rob and I try to get to Villa Park as early as this year through our super thanks button. You've contributed from around the world, and we'll have a list of all those contributors coming up shortly here, but I can't thank you enough. It means an awful lot. Until the Stevenage FA Cup show, which will come sometime after Sunday, spare a thought for me and my family. We have to take down our Christmas decorations, including the parlor tree. It is a long process in this house. It's such a tough time of year. Let's hope the Villa can lift our spirits. Be well, and as always, up the mighty Villa.